Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier. Now, having given a narrative of the famous Long March, even if a truncated narrative, such is its significance in any explanation of Mao's rise to power, that I really think that this needs to be the focus of a presentation in its own right. So here goes. The Long March really is the stuff of legend. One day Hollywood may make the movie. I doubt it, but it might. And it would be difficult to exaggerate its epic proportions if it did. 6,000 miles, that's 10,000 kilometers covered. 11 provinces crossed. 18 mountain ranges crossed. 24 major rivers crossed. To this one could add the grasslands that were also crossed, but also the weather that had to be contended with. Wind, rain, hail, snow, and at other times scorching heat. The lack of food and inadequate clothing. Illness too. Think about your experiences on school outward bound trips, and add the constant harassment of Kuomintang troops and the armies of those surviving warlords, which I'm guessing you didn't have to contend with. You will, I trust, appreciate that survival was itself a major achievement. All of which led Edgar Snow, the American journalist who spent time with Mao in Yan'an in the middle of 1936, to claim the Long March as an odyssey unequalled in modern times. However, it was also something of a myth. Like Dunkirk for the British, disastrous defeat was turned into glorious victory. And by the way, I'm using CCP propaganda posters to illustrate these slides. The communists had been forced out of Jiangxi by the Kuomintang armies, and of the 80,000 who had set out from Jiangxi, including only 35 women by the way, fewer than 5,000 survived to reach Yan'an in Shanxi province in the north of China. Women and children had to be left behind, amongst them 2 of Mao's children, left with sympathetic peasant families, but never heard of again. Mao also lost a brother who was also left behind to fight a rearguard action against the closing Kuomintang troops. The Kuomintang, on the other hand, now enjoyed more control than any other single authority since the fall of the Qing dynasty. And Chiang Kai-shek was recognized as China's legitimate leader by most foreign powers, including the Soviet Union. Yet the communists did survive. And myths are important to nations, and the Long March was profoundly important. It had both tremendous positive psychological and political significance for the communists. The psychological effect was deep and would continue to have a profound effect on events right up to Mao's death. To begin with, the experience of the march reinforced Mao's personal faith that proper will, spirit, and consciousness would conquer all obstacles, that the communist ideas and ideals would overcome all. Virtues of unending struggle, heroic sacrifice, self-denial, diligence, courage and unselfishness were values espoused not by Mao alone, but carried and conveyed by all the veterans of the Long March. They had been essential to their survival and to the survival of the revolution, and they would lie at the heart of what came to be celebrated as the Yan'an spirit. Mao himself regarded the march as a manifesto, a seeding machine. It has sown many seeds in 11 provinces, which will sprout, grow leaves, blossom into flowers, bear fruit, and yield a crop in the future. Mao was a frustrated poet. He really was. For those who survived the ordeal, as well as for those who were inspired by it, the experience gave rise to a sense of hope and a deepened sense of mission. At the same time, the deaths of so many comrades lent a sacred character to the revolutionary mission. There was now an unbreakable commitment to carry on the revolutionary struggle, whilst for Mao, the experience undoubtedly contributed enormously to the perception of himself as a man of destiny. In all of this, the revolution took on a sense of mission, a sense of historical destiny, like that found in Hitler and amongst the Nazi Party in Germany in the 1930s. What's more, at Jiangxi, Mao had seen the advantage in fighting the Japanese. Given Chiang Kai-shek's reluctance to do so, it gave the communists an opportunity to lead an anti-Japanese front, uniting all classes in a patriotic fight against the invader. But it was when they neared the end of their long march that Mao first got a sense that the mood in the country was beginning to balk against Chiang's policy of appeasement. In the summer of 1935, the Japanese had forced the Kuomintang government to withdraw troops from Beijing and Tianjin, to remove provincial officials considered hostile to Japan, and to declare a goodwill mandate, expressly forbidding public expressions of anti-Japanese sentiment. It was yet another humiliation for the Chinese to accept, and they resented Chiang's willingness to comply. After a year of bitter retreat, in which survival was their only thought, Mao could see that their new base at Yan'an in the north of China could be an anti-Japanese base. The party had regained a purpose. The single most important political effect, however, and indeed the most important historical effect, was that Mao achieved effective control over the Communist Party, and enough of the army to pursue his own revolutionary struggle. The Comintern-backed leadership back in Shanghai and at Jiangxi had repeatedly made the wrong decisions, whilst Mao had been repeatedly proven right. The communists were now in a position just to fight the Japanese and the nationalists, and to mobilize Chinese nationalist sentiments for both patriotic and revolutionary ends. The successful completion of the Long March was testimony not only to the validity of the communists' mission, but also the policies and wisdom of their leader, Mao Zedong. Indeed, the cult of Mao was born out of the Long March. And so, we're at the beginning of the fight for China. The fight to survive is now over. Now, if you have listened to my other presentations, I hope you can see how they fit together to give a strong sense of how Mao came to not only lead, but to dominate the Chinese Communist Party, and eventually, of course, China itself. Don't forget, if you think you might benefit from tutorials, get your parents to get in touch with me at historymadeeasier@gmail.com, and we'll see if we can sort something out. But for now, let me thank you, as always, for listening, and wish you the very best of luck with your studies. Cheers.